Happy Mushoku Mondays, everybody. Welcome back to yet another trek of the Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation novel series. We are still on Paul Gaiden, currently in the training arc. We've left the runaway arc. We're now in the training arc. We haven't quite got to anybody training him quite yet. We're still with the slum kids, but hopefully we get to that stuff because I see a couple chapters away. I think I've seen Lilia, so I think we're going to get to Lilia stuff now. This is probably some of the most exciting stuff to get into for Paul's history. And even though it is a very nasty area, I kind of want to see the build up to that. We've already got that sense that, yes, he was there in that training hall. At some point, he got mad at everybody, that they were looking down upon him, and he chose to get back at them by going after Lilia. Deflowering her, forcing himself upon her, that's the key thing there, which makes him an absolute dirtbag. But I'm kind of curious to see how that builds up. Again, getting into that nitty-gritty, nasty stuff that, again, is hard to really stomach, but at the same time really does make these characters stand out in a very disgusting world. That's always been the draw to Mushoku Tensei. But anyways, with all that said, thank you guys so much for dropping by for the premiere. Hey chat, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday after Mushoku Monday, but greatly appreciate everybody's support, kind words, and yes, greatly appreciate everybody's sports channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. It means a great deal to me. Last week we had Roy's Moist with 18 months at this point. Thank you so much for your long-time support. Thank you. With that said, let's just continue it. Jumping into Chapter 4, Their Own Way. Paul's journey, which began in this way, continued to progress more smoothly than he anticipated. Kizzy's days are crawling all over the place. You're getting in the way, said an adventurer. Oh, what was that? Hey, Paul, one of the slum brats said. Yeah, I know. Now, it must be fated to happen. As a man, I can overlook it. Hey, right? Don't you agree? I'll have to make sure that he apologizes. They would not have any day jobs, and the way they earn money for the trip was simple. Ouch! Hey, you just bumped into me on purpose. And you don't even apologize. Now we've been taken for fools, haven't we? Rude said. Yeah, I guess we should buy what we're offered, Paul said. Bumped into, stared at, tongue lashed. Any reason is fine, Paul thought. They used all the strength they had to pick fights at random. Paul and his boys beat up their opponents and used their money they took from them to finance their journey. Okay, I wasn't quite getting a sense of what was going on with this scene, because again, it's like jumping over to like the slum brat, this adventurer, rude, Paul, apologizing, bumping into, what are you talking about? They're literally just picking fights. They're like, I'm guessing, walking around bumping into people until they don't like them and they beat them up and take their stuff. I mean, it's not stealing, but it's technically stealing. It's such a weird little segment here. One day, about a month after the start of the trip, the sunny morning turned into a heavy rain in the afternoon. Paul and his friends rushed to a 2-story inn, got a room, and started eating at a bar on the first floor. Auntie, keep 'em coming. All right. But I hope you guys have money for ordering this much. Yes, of course we do, Marianne said. As you can see, we could pay you. Marianne glanced at the bag of money, and the proprietress' eyes lit up as she turned to go back in the kitchen. As she does so, she casually whispers to Paul, If you have that money, would you like to call a woman? Paul nodded silently, but empathetically. The proprietress nodded back with a look that said she understood everything, and disappeared in the kitchen. Paul, what the hell? You got Marianne right. Paul is such a dirtbag. He's got Marianne right there, and he just wants more. But yeah, this is technically how he was raised. It just seems normal for him. Just not my bag. It's just not my thing. Chapter 5, Brawl. When the meat-centric dishes were soon brought out, the still young Paul and his friends began to chow down with gusto. So, we come a long way south. Where do we go from here? So we just leave the country? That might be a good idea, Paul replied. If we leave the country, there will be no one after us. The Millbots region, ruled by the Notos Grey Rat family, had long since been left behind. But there were still pursuers out there. They're still after him. And again, I don't doubt that. They're going to chase him to the ends of the world as long as they can until they finally give up, maybe after a year, I would assume. They're not that big of a deal. But it's a pain in the ass to deal with every one of them. I didn't think they would chase us outside the territory. I mean, that's where they're most feared, but at the same time, yeah, going outside of their jurisdiction. You would assume they have sort of a jurisdiction. They would probably have to talk with the other heads, and that wouldn't look good. Can you imagine the head of the Millbots region going to another region and going, hey, my son is being an idiot. How can I get him? What? Your kid's doing what? Wow, that looks really bad upon your family. Can't even handle your own children. That's how much they want to bring you back? Marianne said. I'm not sure I've ever seen a man who's so eager to get out of his own territory. Did you really get kicked out of the house? Or did you run away in the heat of the moment? I really got thrown out. I guess they've already decided to disown me and to give my younger brother the household. Well, it's not good for the elder son to run away from home. It'll be treated as an accidental death or death from illness, and the funeral will be held. Yep. And that's interesting because I don't think they ever implied, at least with the mainline series, I don't think they ever had a moment where somebody said that they thought he was dead. Like, you didn't have Philip going, oh my gosh, you're still alive, Paul? That's crazy. Now, they could have been privy to that information, but I doubt it. I guess they just pretty much just had everybody just ignore that he was even in the world. Again, if they look at some adventuring logs and they see that there's a guy named Paul that's an adventurer, nobody's going to know that he's that Paul. Because again, he's not going to list his family name. If that's the case, Paul thought, if they catch me, I'll be stripped of my possessions and executed. If someone sees the body, will they smash my face so that they won't know I was related to the Notos Grey Rat house? If so, he couldn't get caught at any cost. As Paul was stealing his fillings, the ragged door of the bar opened vigorously.
Damn, I'm soaking wet. Hey. There are only kids here. Since when did this place become a hangout for kids?
Huh? I don't care if you're a customer of the bar. You shouldn't be making a fuss over the customers. It's not polite to do so, old man. Again, they always try to pick fights so they can steal more money. I was like curious if Paul was going to become an actual bandit. And he sort of is. He's in that gray area there where he's not stealing from innocent people. He's unmaking innocent people, making them into aggressors by egging them on so that it feels like it's not wrong. It's still technically wrong.
What did you say just now? You little brat. Are you f***ing with me?
The furious man kicked a nearby table, and the plate on top of it fell off. It must be one of the man's friends. A group of strong men entered the restaurant.
You little to underestimate adults. Need to be taught a lesson about the harshness of the world.
A man grabbed one of the nearby boys by the head and slammed him down on the table. Paul and Rude stood up at the same time. You asshole, Rude said. What the hell are you doing? Paul then followed up. You look like you're ready to fight. You're the one who provoked the fight. Don't regret it, okay? Are you sure about... There seem to be a lot of them, Marianne said. Marianne, go to the proprietress. Well, these guys don't look like they'll be much trouble. So don't worry. We'll wrap this up quickly.
What the hell, man? No mercy. I'll murder you.
Gosh dang, dude. Pushing Marianne back into the kitchen, Paul faced the men with his sword at the ready. Don't try to look cool in front of Marianne, Rude said. What's the big deal? This is going to be a real pain in the ass, isn't it? Oh yeah? Paul said. I don't think it's going to be a big deal to me. Oh yeah? Whoa! Rude lifted a chair that was close at hand and threw it at the men. That was a signal to start the fight. These guys are so bad. Paul's just a bad boy. Paul accurately aimed at their vital points. They're all using forceful techniques that rely on the arm strength. They're no match for me. The opponents were strong adults, but Paul was at ease, and he did not feel the slightest sense of fear or danger. But Paul was the only one who felt that way. Damn it, these guys are too strong, one of the slum brats said. You guys, don't fight by yourselves. You gotta stay in a group, Rude commanded. Is Rude the only one that can fight properly? Paul thought. Paul clicked his tongue and swung his sword. With a flash of his sword, he knocked down his opponent and avoided the attack of another man who came up from behind him.
Ho. The kid is a kid. Go home and beg your mama's titty.
The kid is a kid?
Boy is a boy. Shonen is shonen.
That's probably exactly what it says. Shonen is shonen. You go to your mommy. You're not going to get any other girls with an ugly face like yours, are you? Damn, Paul. Damn, Paul.
Huh?
Paul used the table as a foothold and leapt, closing the distance between him and the thug at once. No matter how big you are, it doesn't mean you're strong. In fact, the instructors who taught Paul how to use a sword were not physically imposing women, but they were powerful. Maybe now I could. A thug stopped his blow with his sword, but the man's face was distorted.
You're not an amateur, are you? Don't tell me you're from the Water God style dojo.
Water God style? I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm using Sword God style. I don't know where they get that from. I mean, if he doesn't feel it's like a strong strike, if they cannot be defeated with a single blow, you retreat and immediately unleash a second blow. A heavy blow, using rotation of a body, hit the thug in the stomach, as if it were sucked in. I mean, yeah, technically, if you're not... We always seem like Edis, like, it was so much focus on the idea that was, sort of light. It was like one single strike. That was all it's about. But that's up there. That's like Saint tier. Like, getting into Saint tier is mastering Sword of Light. So it makes sense that, yeah, before then, you're going to have to rely on multiple strikes. You don't quite have the ability to kill somebody instantly like that.
Oh,
the man's body fell to the floor. It was sudden. The whole place fell silent. Hey, Paul, don't just stand there. We're not done yet. I know. They treated me like a kid just because they're adults. They must be carrying a lot of money. I'm going to take it all. From that point on, Paul was in control. Before his opponent, who had been stunned, could even begin their attack, he was able to conquer them with superior strength. Paul's going to get his face rubbed into something. There is way too much buildup of him just taking down a whole bunch of people and stealing money. He's going to get his face pushed in soon. Chapter 6, Difference in Upbringing. It wasn't long before the thugs fled, and Paul had his money. You guys made my store look like this, the proprietress said. I'm so sorry, Marianne replied. You think an apology is going to make it go away? Get the hell out of here. Eh? The proprietress was furious at the disastrous situation in the restaurant. It was Marianne who was apologizing, and Paul rolled his eyes at the proprietress's words. You tell us to leave. It's raining outside. Besides, we were supposed to stay a night, and I've given you money for accommodations in advance. How can I let the people who are making such a mess of my bar stay the night? You really think I can fix the bar with just the cost of their stay? You'll have to pay for the repairs, too. One of the slum brats cut in. Hey, old bag. You'll get on my nerves if you don't just shut up and listen to us. Eek! Stop it. Paul stopped the boy who was about to grab the proprietress. Manners. Don't raise your hand against the lady. As he said that, Paul wrinkled his brow, as what he was born and educated to do was about to come out. Lady? She's just a money-hungry old hag, isn't she? You're gonna do what you're told and just leave your money behind and go out in the rain like this? Interesting conflict having here. I wasn't really expecting a conflict like this to kind of pop up. Rude then stepped in. Hey, calm down a bit, man. When the boss tells you to stay out of it. Yeah, but Rude-san. Leaving Rude to calm the boy down, Paul took a step towards the proprietress. Proprietress, we'll pay for the repairs. We'll pay for our lodging, and we won't let these guys mess with your store or with you. But if you're gonna kick us out, that's a different story. What do you mean? We won't pay for the repairs. We won't pay for your accommodations, and we can't guarantee your safety. It's raining hard outside. We have to get a place to stay. All right, but as I said from the beginning, it's only for one night. No extensions. You'll have to leave tomorrow, even if it rains. Yeah, that's fine. The proprietress was indignant and disappeared from the scene. Paul turned back and looked around at the disgruntled faces. What do you have to say for yourself? Why do you let the old lady say whatever she wants to say? Why don't you just knock her out and shut her up? Besides, we wouldn't even have to pay for the repairs. If you have that much money, you could have traveled easier for a while now, you know. So you want me to skip out on repairs and lodging? Beat up the proprietress? And become a wanted man? I don't mind being wanted, but I don't want to be wanted for a lame reason. That's true. Is that really the only reason? Paul, are you really thinking of returning to nobility someday? Is that why you don't want to be a wanted man? Bullshit. Paul's voice came out lower than he thought it would. He seen a number of doubtful eyes. He looked over them one by one. I just become Paul because I wanted to. I have no intentions of going back to that place. So, why then? Why are your people still after you? Don't ask me. I don't know what's going on back there. Don't talk nonsense to me ever again. I won't tolerate it, even from you. The atmosphere was tense. In the midst of this, Marianne made a move. She gently pulled Paul's hand. Everyone is tense after battle, aren't they? Let's take the rest of the day off. Paul, may we go to your room? What? Oh, yes, sure. He's such a changeable guy, Ruth said. He's so easy with her. Paul lightly raised his hand to Rude's dumbfounded face. Paul then hugged Marianne around the waist and headed upstairs to his room. That's actually a very little interesting segment. I'm very intrigued by this segment. Maybe I'm overthinking a lot of this. Yes, they're establishing towards the later part there's tension building up right now. There's a bit of a tension here building up because they're constantly being chased. They keep having to take down these pursuers, and this is going to constantly keep in everybody's mind that is these slum brats have followed Paul out into the middle of nowhere. They have completely left the area. They're in a different territory altogether. And for them, if they lose their leader, they're lost. It's kind of like the whole thing with like Ghislaine. That's a good example there. Ghislaine, where the fact that once her party fell apart, it's like suddenly she has nothing. I mean, Geese was the same way. Like he was getting everything from his party, but Geese was trying to adapt to another party, but it was hard to find anybody. Again, nobody needs him. He has no skills. He just has capabilities. He's able to help people with information and tricks. So the two of them have the same problem. And I think several of the other ones have little problems too. Once your party breaks up, it's very difficult, especially if they're older or they're not as skilled as everybody else and they can't find a party. But anyways, with that much reliance on their leader in a completely unknown area, there's going to be a lot of uneasiness to, is he going to stay here? With that constant reminder that he used to be a noble, could he eventually go back? And right here, this situation is stirring up that fear. He's acting like a noble. He's not wanting to become wanted. Why would he not want to become wanted? Oh, yeah, that's right. We're still being pursued. Maybe he wants to go back to that. There's still going to be a doubt here brewing up regularly to say, he could ditch us. He could go back. Maybe he's not committed. There's a key thing there. Maybe he's not committed to what we're doing. We're slum brats. We're beating up people for money. We're taking money. We're just fighting anybody we possibly can, picking fights, violent like crazy. But he's not committing all the way. He's still acting like he doesn't want to be a bad boy. Why is that? Maybe he has something to go back to. But I like that interesting aspect that's kind of being built up here, where suddenly there's a conflict in how they feel they should act and how Paul wants them to act. And that's always going to be the case. With all the people underneath a little bandit group like this, they're all going to have different morals. There's going to be that line that they don't want to cross. With every leader of a thug group, there's going to be that line they don't cross. It's like that whole thing where the people go into that area and they start beating down all the men. They're stealing all the food over here. And this one guy goes over here to smack a kid over the head with a club. And suddenly they stop him. No, don't touch the kids. And yeah, there's always that backstory about how the thug leader, when they were kids, got beat a lot by their father or something like that. And they don't want that for other kids. I know. This is the line for Paul. Paul is okay with them just picking fights with random adventurers and random thugs, getting them to come at them, and then basically claiming self-defense. Bait them in, beat them down, take their money. Bait them in, beat them down, take their money. And this little thug brat over here, he's like, yeah, let's do it to the proprietress too. She's nagging at us. Just like them, she's coming at us. Let's beat her down too. Wait, why are we suddenly listening to her? We don't listen to anybody. We're thugs. We're a band of bandits. Why do we have to listen to this one? That's where Paul draws a line. Suddenly his old nature of his old self comes up. No, don't harm her. Sorry, madam. It's like his old self is coming back. Again, this is where it's interesting. He says, lady. He addresses her formally. When it's saying lady, I can assume, even though this is translated, just the fact that the guy is pointing out lady, it means that he's formally addressing the proprietress. He's being respectful to her. And the slum brat picks up on that. Why are you speaking respectfully to her? She's just a money-hungry old hag. Don't raise your hand to a lady. It's not really that big of a deal, but it is one of those things where it sort of shows that Paul at least got something out of his life in nobility. He sort of has a moral boundary to keep himself from going too far. That's really the best way to put it. But it does show that there's still a sense here where something is still nagging at him. And I think a lot of it has to do with his mother. His mom would not want that. Just like that first scene that we've seen him with the mother. He goes to roll up the skirt. You don't do that for a lady. Mom, it seemed like mom had that sense of like instilling upon him how to treat a lady. And he probably spent quite a bit of time with her where she was instilling that upon him, how to treat a lady. Anyways, moving on. Chapter 7, splitting up and taking another step. They're splitting up already? wait, we're splitting up already? The next day, it had been raining since morning. What did you say? Well, it's, some of the guys, they left. Rude hemmed and hawed, but looking at the number of people gathered, about half of the previous number seemed to have vanished. And why did they leave? One of the slum brats then spoke up. Rude son, let me lay it out for you. They left because they realized that Paul had no intentions of returning to nobility. What do you mean? Rude then answered. I don't know where you came from, but I know you're a pretty high-ranking noble. So they thought they can get a nice seat at the table if they stay with you. They thought the reason you came south was because you knew a nobleman and wanted to rely on him. Besides, your family seems obsessed with you. What? What? Okay. I wasn't expecting this. Like, after talking like crazy about the previous chapter, how these people don't like the idea that he's, again, not wanting to go all the way. Like, he has those boundaries. No, they legit were like, he's never going back, is he? Well, get the hell out of here. I was hoping I can get in good with them. I literally thought like the earlier lineup there was a mistranslation, but no, legit, they they wanted to get in good with a nobleman. Oh my gosh. That's nonsense, Paul said. Is that why they've been following me all this time? Paul didn't get angry. He just felt cold and chilled. So it's not just aristocrats that could be calculating, Paul thought. It's more like, I didn't quite get it. Is this what friends are all about after all? Damn, dude. We're getting into the idea that even I left the aristocrats. I left nobility. And these guys are the same way. Paul is realizing that, yes, his dad's a dirtbag nasty dude, and not everybody's like that. And yes, a lot of what The aristocrats, that's what it's all about. They're constantly playing politics. But that's also human nature. It's amplified human nature. And so over here, he's learning that even when I'm in the slums, big shocker, Paul, these kids are fighting to survive. And if they can find a way to get a leg up out of that poverty, they're going to do it too. Not everybody's out to be your bestest friend. They're out to have a better life. And they see an opportunity in you. It sucks. Marianne then spoke up. Paul, don't get too down, okay? It's okay. We'll be with you the whole way. Marianne stood close to Paul. The sweet scent of her soft body in his arms calmed him down. Thank you, Marianne. No need to thank me. I just want to. Have the two of you forgotten that your brother exists? Rude. Me too. I'm here too. Paul's group was reduced to less than 10 people. As promised to the proprietress, they left the inn in the pouring rain and bad weather. It was still raining the next day. But it's a bad idea to leave the town in this weather, isn't it? Shall we look for another inn? I'm sure people know what happened with that rampage last night. I don't think they'll let us stay at the night, unless they're desperately in need of money. What are we going to do then? Let's go to... Where to? That's it. Yeah, dojo busting. What? Paul chuckled. A dojo? A dojo has a roof, just right for sheltering in the rain, don't you think? Besides, if we win, they'll gladly let us stay. Is that so? Yes. As long as we win, you can use the magic words. If you want your dojo sign back, say, according to the thug from yesterday, apparently there was a dojo of the Water God style in this town. I've been out of touch with Water God style swordsmanship ever since I lost my teacher at school. I couldn't help my teacher back then, he thought. Paul was proud to say that he was more suited to the Sword God style than the Water God style. Again, because the Water God style was for the aristocrats. I've been in real fights, and I'm not going to be defeated by some sword fighter who's just swinging a sword in a dojo, he thought. Rude, let's go take over the dojo for a minute. That's a lighthearted invitation. Well, sounds like fun. Paul's steps were light as he headed towards the Water God style dojo in the rain. The thought of his missing friends would no longer be on his mind. Damn! Again, super interesting having literally all these people that were following them. And again, that makes sense. It's not like we get a sense that these guys were super buddy-buddy. All these brats were like buddy-buddy with them. We get a sense that, yeah, Rude is like, loves them. Like, Rude and him are like brothers. They're brothers in arms. They're family. Marianne, of course. I can see. Now, it would be so funny if in 2 chapters, suddenly out of nowhere, Marianne's like, so you really aren't going back to nobility? Well, peace out. I was hoping I could become your mistress. That would be so wrong. And then Rude's like, yeah, I was hoping I'd be your sword. I was hoping to be a guardian for you. And then he ditches too. But yeah, he's going to dojo with a really hot head. Paul's getting his face smashed in. Paul is totally going to get his face smashed in. Now, I seem to remember when they were talking about Paul's history in the first volume, I don't think they claimed that he beat the master right off the bat, but he was the most promising. He definitely was seen as the most promising when he came in there. And eventually he overcame the master of the dojo, Lilia's father. So I can see him eventually getting there, but he's going to get his face pushed in initially. Episode 2, Meeting with Lilia. Here it is, folks. Lilia's in the chat. If I don't have an emote in the chat yet, I'm an idiot. But Lilia emotes in the chat. Chapter 8, Dojo Busting, Part 1. I think it's gonna be more than one part. Paul and his friends were about to eagerly enter the dojo that teaches the Water God style of swordsmanship in order to break the dojo. Which that implies that it was a Water God style dojo. Huh. Now, granted, I don't remember them ever implying what Lilia's father's dojo taught. Was it? I don't think they ever said Water God style. I know it was a dojo, and it trained, and Lilia trained there and had a sense of fighting capability. But again, I don't think they ever implied the style. Am I wrong, chat? Am I wrong, chat? Am I wrong? Again, granted, it could be another dojo. We're going to meet Lilia later on, I guess. I'm not an expert on crashing dojos, but as I recall, this is how you do it. Well, excuse me. Hey, Paul. Rude, don't call out to me to discourage me when I'm just getting started. Sorry, my bad. I just wanted to ask you something. Yeah? What is it? I just overheard there's a lot of Water God style dojos in this town. Are we going to hit them all? What? There's a mountain of them? Why? Paul was again just blinking as he was staring. Rude's words were completely lost on him. He was going to get in this dojo because of the first one he saw, but But if there were multiple dojos, that would be a different story. Well, I mean, the first thought is, who cares? You just want a place to stay. Who cares which one you choose? You don't have to destroy all of them to have a place to stay at one of them. But the problem there is that, yeah, if you bust up this one, the other dojos are probably going to come. They're going to be coming down there quick. If we're going to prove my swordsmanship as a dojo breaker, I have to do it at the strongest dojo, he thought. Okay, that's a different story. I didn't think that was the... I thought the goal was to have a place to stay, but he just really wants to destroy one. I heard this town produced a water god. I heard that's why dojos of the water god style started popping up one after another. If this place produced a water god, there's only currently at this time one water god. There's only one. This is the place where Rada rose up. Now, again, there's technically two others. I think it was like, what, 2 or 3 other people that were like, they could be water gods, but they wouldn't take on Rada because she had that technique. But this is specifically saying a water god. It has to be Rada. A water god, huh? That means the dojo, where the water god started out at, is the most prestigious one, right? Well, is that right? Then it's settled. Let's go to that dojo right away. We'll have to split up and find out where it is. What? Okay. Logical thinking, Andrew, the moment I hear that crap, I get the hell out. Let's go find the place that produced a water god. I could take that one out. Go after the strongest enemy. God damn, Paul, you're such a moron right now. Find it. In this rain? Isn't it obvious? It's not raining as hard as yesterday. Don't ask me something crazy. I'll ask at this dojo. You guys gather info on your own. So, all right, let's break up. As Paul ducked down and walked into the dojo, he heard Rude's sigh behind him. Marianne, follow Paul. I don't want him to go alone. Oh, yeah, got it. I'll be on the lookout for Paul. What is it? Paul thought. Am I being treated like a child? You're kind of acting pretty stupid, dude. I'm not gonna lie, you're acting pretty stupid, dude. Well, if I get to be alone with Marianne, I don't really mind it. Then Paul and Marianne knocked on the door of the Water God style dojo. Excuse me, could you tell me which dojo is the best around here? No one would name any other dojo as the best when asked in such a manner. Sure enough, Paul ended up breaking into the dojo he had just come to talk to. Paul, you really are strong. I can't believe you beat someone who practices every day at the dojo, Marianne said. Did you think I could lose? Besides, I've been taught by a Water God style practitioner. I can handle guys of this caliber. Paul actually took over the dojo by himself and lazily waited around for Rude and the others to bring him information. The way of the sword has no end, and you have to train a long time before you can master it. But training is not always rewarded. Like these guys here, some genius may appear one day and make them realize how helpless and talentless they are in an instant. This is actually very interesting to me that, I don't have doubts that Paul can walk into one of these dojos and take them down. He has been training ever since he's a kid. And there's going to be a lot of people in these dojos that probably just recently started. They maybe started when they were 8 or 10 or something like that. Paul's been starting from, 5? Yeah, a little bit past 5, I think is when it implied. He could have been training at home before he left for school, but he's been training for a long time. This is the only thing that he's ever found fun. He's neglected everything to train the sword. And then he got a lot of real life experience with it as well. He trained in 2 different swordsmanships. He even fought for a long time and hung out with the North God style. He's got a sense of a lot of different styles. So I don't doubt him walking to a dojo and taking him down. The question mark that I have is that I would assume that a lot of these dojos would actually have knowledge and train in battle auras. We have not mentioned yet any of his instructors training him in that. You would assume that they had. It could be this is just an assumption that, yeah, he trained in that. But I wonder if that will end up being sort of the thing that eventually hits him in the face when he goes up against somebody that properly utilizes a battle aura. Now, he's probably utilizing a battle aura. It's just probably, again, because he really sucked at explaining it to Rudius. And it could be simply an aspect, I think even Rudius kind of picked up on this element of realizing, yeah, he can't really explain it because it's always been natural to him. And I think everybody that's tried to explain it to him is like, it's just a natural thing. I think Eodis, was even the same way. It's just a natural thing. Paul, somehow you've changed. What? What do you mean changed? I don't know how to say it, but it's like, Paul, we're in trouble. Come quickly. One of the slum brats busted in. Marianne was about to say something when a boy came running in with panicked footsteps. You're making a lot of noise, eh? Are you hurt? What's wrong? I don't care if I'm hurt or not. It's about Rootson. Rude-san's in trouble. Rude? Where is he? Dojo. Just a little ways from here. Please, hurry up. Yeah, okay. Marianne, you stay behind just in case. No, I'll go with you. If something happens to my brother, I just can't wait here. I see. That's right. Okay, we'll go together. Here, show me the way. This way. Rude-san's gonna die. No, he's probably got his butt kicked. He probably got his butt kicked. Chapter 9, Dojo Busting, Part 2. Led by the boy, they arrive at the dojo, where the men were cheering. At the edge of the dojo, the youths who accompanied Paul were lying on the ground. And in the center, Rude was fighting, covered in blood. Brother! We rode in to ask for information, and they said they'd tell us if we won. Everyone got done in, except for Rude-san. Why is Rude struggling? Sure, he seems to have a good opponent, but not as good as Rude, right? I don't know how many more we have to fight. What? The students. They're all betting on how many people Rude-san will knock out. You don't have to deal with that. Why is Rude fighting? Don't you get it? Rude-san's not the kind of guy who back down quietly after his buddies get beat up. Paul looked at Rude, who was moving slower than usual, perhaps because of his strength had been sapped. Water God style is a defensive sword art, Paul thought. If you keep on fighting, your strength is going to weaken. And Rude's fighting style is similar to North God style, using what's around him. In the center of a dojo, there's almost nothing he can use. He can't bring his full strength to bear. Interesting. Yeah, I can see that. If the idea is picking up dirt, flinging stuff, a reflection, causing a reflection, like Duita was causing a reflection with his armor, any kind of trick, again, it's all about compensating for a lack of something. That's why it's always seen as trickery. So yeah, I can totally see that. And the Water God style is a defensive style. It's going to wear people down. It's going to constantly just parry, block. And yeah, there is counters to the Water God style, but you could technically wear somebody down just by constantly blocking, constantly parrying until they're exhausted. I think they got into a little bit of that with Isolde when she first went to the north. I think they implied that as well, but I can totally see that. But yeah, showing a little bit of Rude's good side here. He ain't gonna back down that his friends have been knocked down. The students were shouting excitedly. Rude was swinging his sword doggedly, as if he had no time to care. Hey, yeah? Take Marianne back to the dojo, where we were. What are you gonna do? I can't do it if you're here. That's why you have to leave, quickly. Marianne looked at Rude, and Paul in turn, as if lost. There was no time to hear the answer. Paul shoved Marianne against the boy. Take her away. You don't have to come back after that. Marianne's safety is your first priority. All right. Take care of Rude-san and the others. Paul! As if dragged by the boy, Marianne left the dojo. When they were completely out of sight, Paul gripped his sword and jumped between Rude and the others. Paul, you're foolishly and naively taking them on one by one. If that's your way of fighting, you better start taking them into mixed battles and brawls. As he told Rude, Paul attacked and blew away the student in front of him. I'll be your opponent from here on out. It was a messed up battle, a melee. The students had learned some rough fighting techniques at the dojo, but they lacked experience. The students' faces, which had been smirking at first, turned into ones that showed no room for complacency when Paul instantly knocked down a few of them. Use whatever you have. Whether it's a tub, a vase, or a picture frame, it's a weapon for you. Shut up. I didn't have anything on hand, so I had no choice. Again, the whole idea of not having like sand or something to pick up, it's like, well, look around the room. You find something to grab. Chuck it at him. He's literally having to teach him how to use North God style in a dojo. And again, that kind of comes down to that like very minimal understanding that Paul has of North God style. That because he's claiming Rude is North God style, which I don't think it really is. I just think that it's sort of a... Now, yes, technically Rude back in the day could have met a North God style fighter or somebody that knows a little bit about it. And he got the tricks from him. And I do think that, yes, North God style does sort of fit well with the idea of a thief, a bandit. Because, again, they don't have, like, all the money in the world. They're going to have to use whatever they have. Dishonor doesn't mean much when you're already dishonorable. So do whatever you can to win. Whatever tricks you can get to get past your lack of skill, essentially. But it's funny to sort of just assume that dirty fighting has to be North God style, when it's just probably Paul making an assumption here. Then jump out of the way, Paul yelled. Chilling at the center of a dojo? Don't fight like a fool in the middle of some empty space. This dojo was filled with more skilled fighters than the one they had just been in. Even so, while the two of them were forced to fight in a battle that they were not accustomed to, the students did not raise any shouts of victory in front of Rude, who caught a second wind, and Paul, who showed overwhelming power. Interesting. It's implying that Rude technically had the tougher of the fight. He just didn't have a lot of tools to use. Chapter 10, Holding Back. Where the hell is Lilia, by the way? I was getting all excited seeing the damn title saying Lilia, and I'm waiting for it. It's that whole episode thing. With a sign broken in half, Paul and his followers left the dojo. Brother. When they arrived at the dojo they had taken over and made their home, Mary Ann ran up and hugged Rude. Sheesh, Paul thought. You could have hugged me instead of Rude. So jealous. Paul's jealous of a sister hugging her brother. He doesn't like Wincest. Except for when it comes to Rudius and Aisha. He's going to be okay with that. Rude then spoke up. Sorry to worry you. I hope you'll be okay. You're all covered in wounds. We need to patch you up. The dojo was well equipped with supplies to treat the wounded. Mary Ann moved around and patched up the kids. Yes, that's better. But you need to rest for a while, because if those wounds open up, you'll be in trouble. This isn't funny, Paul thought. Why is it a guy who just got hurt and didn't fight much get cuddled up to? Damn, he is getting super jealous. There was a sense of deja vu. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Trauma. This is trauma. This is Paul's trauma. It is welling up right here. I mean, I've seen quite a few people making parallels to him losing his mother to Paul and his desperate desire to save Zenith, which I didn't get into with the last Mushoku Monday, but yeah, technically, I'm surprised that he didn't internalize the guilt of staying the night with the prostitute. He literally was going to leave, and she said, no, why don't you stay and have a little good time? Oh, it's not going to be a quick time. And then he ended up doing it. And then he goes walking home, and then suddenly while he's walking home, there's that shooting star. He could have made it in time. And again, that was what set off Amaranth. I could smell it. There could have been the possibility that Amaranth went to his son to tell him, get in here, she's passing. And he wasn't in there. Wonder where he was at. Then suddenly he walks in and he smells. Doesn't make it right, by the way, of course. But I was kind of curious even back then if there would be sort of a trauma that was caused by that. Not being able to be with his mother passing away without him being there, being separated from his mother. All that stuff could really dig into his mindset. Here it's showing a sign of it being there. But I didn't really connect it there because like the whole scene with him just before or right after they went to the teleportation labyrinth to the Hydra. It's just like that aspect. This guy has been separated from his wife ever since the displacement incident. He was desperate to find her. This is my goal. I've been fighting for years. And he kept telling Rudius the entire time, I'm sorry I'm a failure as a father. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this. Don't worry. Stay where you're at. I got this. 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 I will fix this. This is what I need to do to bring the family back together. My daughters aren't having their birthday parties together. I have to fix this. And it's right there. I went to the teleport. She's right there. There's the end, the goal. It's multi-year marathon, and the goal's right there. Just a little further. That's what I felt. My beloved wife, who I love to death, is right, and literally to death, is right there. But here, yes, I wasn't really going to solidify that the loss of his mother was going to be the cause of that right there. Like, that was a trauma. Mainly because that's love. And I didn't know quite yet how his mother's death was going to affect him. Because stuff like that affects people differently. The loss of my father affects me differently than it affects my brothers, that affects my mom, that affects his friends. Everybody deals with grief and loss differently. And it always depends on what they sort of blame themselves for, or maybe possibly feel like they didn't do enough, or that they have regrets for. I didn't tell him this beforehand. I did this beforehand. I said this beforehand and I regret it. I should have done more. I could have done this. I could have prevented this. It's different for every person. Here we're seeing that, yes, this is affecting Paul. This is that sign right here. This girl's going around and patching up people, and specifically it's saying that guy, she's currently probably patching up Rude. That guy. He didn't do much. What am I doing? Why is he getting the cuddling up? I did all the work. There was a sense of deja vu in this irritation. Paul's feeling, I'm irritated, but there's a feeling of deja vu. I remember this irritation. What was it from? It was similar feeling to the feelings that used to nestle in his chest when his mother was constantly fretting over young Palmon. My gosh, this has so ingrained in his brain. We're not talking about the loss of his mother, but the loss of his mother does sort of amplify that feeling. because he never got a chance to really be with his mother after she was basically fretting over Palmon, that it could kind of erase that. Yeah, I think that there could be a case where that will always be in his mind, but I think if his mother eventually didn't have to attend Palmon as much and could start giving Paul more attention, he'd forget about this. But that's his last memories of her. That's literally his last memories of her, is Palmon taking her from him. God, Paul's life was sucky. I already liked Paul as a character, but this is getting even rougher. You guys are just pathetic. Hey, Paul. Rue was the only one who was able to compete with the Water God style guys. The rest of you got beat up in no time, didn't you? You guys are too weak. You can't even gather a shred of information. You're all useless. Paul let his mouth run off. Silence fell in the dojo, and the air became heavy. Wow. I'm not going to commit to this yet, but this feels like his father coming through him. Oh my gosh. Like father, like son? Are we going there? Huh. This feels like his father. This feels like his father. Again, Amaranth, Palmon, Paul, Valentina. She gets ill. It's your fault, Paul. You're too weak. It's your fault. He's obviously outbursting because he feels this irritation that, again, is a trauma. That Palmon took my mom from me. She was always fretting over him. He took my mother from me. And now these guys are taking my girlfriend from me. They're taking Mary Ann from me. I just got back from fighting and saving all their butts, and she's spending all of her time with them. She's come to me. He's seeing his mother in Mary Ann. And this is often a case with trauma like this, is that it kind of reflects upon their wives, their girlfriends. It's a female thing. They see a female and they sort of see the same thing. He's lashing out because of that irritation, but he's also making a connection there. All right, it's enough. Mary Ann raised her bright voice as if to dispel the bad atmosphere in the place. Paul, we're all hurt, okay? I would feel sorry for them if we spoke too strongly. Let's leave the blame at that, shall we? Girl's trying to stop him from being a dumb. Yeah. Rue then spoke up. Yeah, Paul, it's my fault that I put you through all this. I'm sorry. It wasn't your fault, was it, Rude? Rue was fighting to the end, and he didn't lose to anyone. I was still assigned by the boss to gather information, and I took the job. I should apologize for my failure, shouldn't I? If you want to feel that way, you better get your shit together next time. Dude! When Paul said that, one of the boys spoke up. Shut up and listen to me. You've been talking like that for a while now. Stop it. Paul didn't say anything wrong. We screwed up, and the boss had to clean up the mess. That's clearly our fault. Am I right? It's like Paul thought. Paul looked at the youth and noticed that they were all the same. All of them had this look of frustration with me, Paul thought. Paul, I'm going to make sure these guys know what they're talking about. I'm really sorry about today. It's fine. You don't have to apologize anymore. Paul said that, but there was still a smoldering irritation in the pit of his stomach. Paul was about to go away to freshen things up a bit. That's interesting again there. It's... They're totally making him Amaranth. The parallels are disgusting. This is Amaranth. I mean, at first I had a feeling of like, it's again, Mary Ann is his mother. Mary Ann is Valentina, and she's attending Palmon out here, and Paul's sitting there, and he's mad that she's attending them. It's that trauma. But the way that he's lashing out, it's almost like it's like father, like son. He's lashing out like his father did. And again, that's sort of something that you can also parallel to how Paul initially lashes out at Rudius in those the earlier moments of Volume 1. And it's not like you were abusive because you did that. Like, you can't reprimand your son. The problem there was that he wasn't listening to his son. He was taking the lady's words for 100%. And he knew what they were doing. He knew what that lady was doing. And he chose to ignore what his son thought of the situation. And his son, with the memories of his previous life, was trying to blow it up in his face and set him off. There's so much that whole situation there. It's hard to parallel. Where was I going with this? But this is a really, again, interesting how much they're pulling into trauma here. They're really pulling into trauma here. This is getting deeper character study here. This is getting the psyche stuff here. Paul was about to go away and freshen up a bit. Thud. There was a sound of something crumbling behind him. When Paul and the others looked in the direction of the sound, they saw Mary Ann lying on the ground. This is a trauma chapter, dude. This entire chapter is trauma, dude. Oh my gosh. He's having... Literally, this is his mom. Marianne is turning into his mom. Marianne? What's wrong? Paul rushed over, kneeling down beside Marianne, and held her in his arms. It's nothing. Nothing. I'm just a little dizzy. She said that, but she was breathing hard, and it was sweat on her forehead. It's not nothing. You have a terrible fever. Marianne, how long have you had a fever? Brother, I'm fine. Really, I'm fine, so... Marianne? Marianne? Paul called her name, but she didn't answer. Marianne seemed to have fainted, and her body was weakened in his arms. Unconscious, Paul thought. Why? Why? How long has she had this fever? Dude, she's frail, and you just got done running through the rain ever since you left the inn. You then took her all the way over to where the water god dojos were, and it implies that it was still raining. You then went into the dojos, then you had to run off to where Rude was at, then you sent her back to the other dojo, and then she had to take care of all the boys that came in all beat up. She had to tend to all of them. That's not something... Again, this is what I was expecting from the very beginning of their journey. This girl's not going to last long. Questions came and went, one after another, and his heart was beating uncomfortably fast. Marianne, why? Oi, give her here, Paul. I'm taking her to the doctor. Oh, right. Rude picked up Marianne and ran out of the dojo. The others followed Rude. With their injured bodies, Paul was the only one left. Paul, why, Paul, why aren't you going? Why aren't you going? Marianne, Paul thought, who had fainted for a moment, looked like my mother. Trauma. That's why he's staying there. He's not running after them because he's probably in a state of mental trauma. Valentina, his mother, who was not physically strong and died prematurely because of her late night visit with Paul. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. He's literally believing it. He's literally believing it. Oh my gosh. And that makes sense if she was visiting every night and not getting much sleep while being physically frail. But that's not his fault. Valentina, his mother, who was not physically strong and died prematurely because of her late night visit with Paul, who was under house arrest, having exhausted herself. Speaking of which, Paul thought, did Marianne also say that her body was weak? The blood drained from Paul's face. Is this Paul's made the same mistake a second time in his life moment? This is totally Paul's made a second mistake. The same exact mistake. Did it again. Trauma. Chapter 11, Defeat. With a huff, Paul was about to get up and go after Marianne, but... What's the matter? Aren't you the hot dojo busting kid? Huh? Paul didn't even notice the man's presence until he was very close to him. If he hadn't called out to me, Paul thought, I might not have noticed him until now. Paul held his sword in caution. As he was measuring the distance between himself and his opponent, the man laughed heartily. Ha 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 ha. Good vigilance. There's no signals to start outside the dojo. That means you know how to fight in a real battle. You were looking for me, weren't you? Or, to be precise, you were looking for my dojo. What? So you're the guy from the dojo where the water god was? No. The dojo where the water god used to be has long since been out of business. In any case, the person who inherited the water god's seat had left the dojo. The remaining members argued over who would be the next master, and as a result, the dojo was split up. I'm a fellow student of the water god. After the split and the dojo going out of business, I opened my own dojo, and here we are. The man opened his arms, still holding his sword. Although he looked like he could attack from anywhere, there was no openings at all. Not to brag, but it's one of the best dojos around here. Or something like that. That's what you've been looking for, right? I was looking for it, but it doesn't matter now. Not interested in that right now, Paul thought. Yeah, there's a little bit of an important thing that's going on right now. Currently, Paul wanted to get to where Marianne was, as soon as possible. Rude said he was going to take her to the doctor, but Paul had no idea where it was. As Paul was trying to figure out how to break through the man and get out of the dojo, the man wrinkled his brow in disapproval. It doesn't matter. Huh? What are you talking about? I'm old enough to know better, but I've been looking for you with great excitement. I can't say goodbye to you as soon as I find you. That's gotta be Lilia's dad. This is gonna be Lilia's dad. Because again, he was looking for somebody to take over the dojo. One of his students, marry his daughter, take over the dojo. He never had a boy. And Lilia marrying one of them was their last chance. You were looking for me? You want me to pay for breaking the dojo? What? Why would I be the one to make you pay for breaking into someone else's dojo? Even if it was a friend's dojo, there's no reason for me to go out of my way for them. What? I don't understand any of this. Then why are you looking for me? Because I was interested in you, of course. The master of the dojo, where you cut the signboard in half, is an old friend of mine. We hadn't seen each other for a while, so we were going to have a drink at his dojo. When I went to the dojo, I found it in a state of disarray. The dojo was in shambles, the signboard cut in half, and all the students taken out. They were angry because they were the master, but I was shaken to my core. There's an interesting guy here. That was what I thought. I'm starting to slowly change my voice to bodyguardy because I feel like this guy's a total bodyguardy guy. Come in here, let's have a drink, and let's train you, boy. He seems like a jolly dude. A man who was older than Paul's own father was looking like a child. He's a creepy guy, Paul thought. I can't read his aim at all. Is it even worth thinking about? Whatever. Get out of here. What if I say no? I'll push through. Paul launched himself hard. He jumped at the man in a straight line and swung his sword. His aim was sharp. There's no time, Paul thought. I'll decide with a single blow. The sword ripped through the air. I see. This is beyond anything I imagined. What the? Paul's strike was easily caught. The man smirked with a relaxed expression on his face. Paul's sword slipped in an unexpected direction. What happened? Paul thought. He didn't understand what just happened. Before he could think, his sword was deflected, and his sharp blow came in return. Damn it! It was a counter. He managed to avoid it and jump backwards, but his heart was beating fast. Ha ha ha, you dodged that one. There's no way that a student of that dojo could even match you. This guy he's not just a talker, is he? But I can do it, Paul thought. One more step, and my blade will reach you. Are you coming? Faster and stronger than before. Paul launched his attack. What? He didn't know what happened. Paul found himself blown to the wall. His abdomen hurt, and he tried to raise his body. Only then did Paul realize the man's counter had landed him on his back. I'm surprised. I thought I could completely knock you out with that. You move well, don't you? Still conscious? The way that you move and the way you use your sword are from the sword god style. But you must be a student of the wall god style, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to evade that quickly. Why? I don't care. Get out of my way. All of Paul's blood was rushing to his head. He jumped in without any countermeasures. Why? Just because? What if I say that's it? I'm just saying, I want it more. More. That was the end of Paul's consciousness. He didn't know what was done to him, but the next time that he became conscious. Chapter 12. Instructor Augusta. Augusta? Is that Lilia's father's name? I think they named him. What came into Paul's vision was a strange ceiling. Unfamiliar ceiling. You missed an opportunity there, translation. You missed an opportunity from unfamiliar ceiling. Was a strange ceiling and the face of a girl he didn't recognize. Is that her? Is that Lilia? Best girl Lilia's there? What? Eek. Before he could grasp the situation, Paul jumped up, restrained the girl, and held her down on the bed he was lying on. Please, let go of me. Shut up. Who the hell are you? Who is that guy? Where am I? How'd I get here? You're being too noisy. Get away from... Answer my question. Paul was confused. He was supposed to be in the dojo, but when he woke up, he was in a room he didn't recognize. But you're already awake? The door opened, and a man walked in. He smiled, but when he saw what was inside, his eyes widened. Paul then died. Paul was then killed. The end. But again, if he wants this boy to reign... This is a sad thing. I hate this crap, but if he wants this boy to take over his dojo, he's like, already getting in that business. Okay, good. You're going to marry her, right? Oh my gosh, dude. What? You and Lilia are already that kind of relationship? I get it. My gosh, dude, seriously. What the is with the people of this fucking world? No care for the kids, dude. I swear to goodness. It's Lilia, though. It's Lilia. I knew it. Father, please, talking nonsense like that and do something about this guy. Lilia? Yes, she is my daughter. I haven't introduced myself yet. I am Augusta, the man who beat you to a pulp and scared the hell out of you. You mean I've been kidnapped? That's what I'm saying. So, what's your name? Paul. Paul, is it? Mm-hmm. Isn't that a nice name? There's like a small side of me that's like, I wonder if he knows. Like he's like, oh, so this is Paul that I've heard from somebody about running away from home. Now, we have a lot to talk about. So, for now, will you let my daughter go? Paul hesitated. Without weapons and without clear understanding of the current situation, having the enemy's daughter in his hands was a big deal. Letting go, Paul thought, means I won't have any cards in my hand to play. Paul looked down at the girl he was restraining, the girl who looked defeated, but had a well-put-together face. was staring at Paul with strong-willed eyes. Damn it, Paul thought. Paul half-heartedly got off Lilia and released her. He then faced the man that brought him here. Where am I? My home. And dojo, I suppose. What did you bring me here for? It's simple. Augusta smiled with a childish grin that Paul found creepy. I will take you as my apprentice. From today on, you will live in the dojo. What? Father, you can't be serious. Why'd you let this guy in? He will bring shame to the dojo. No. Why are you assuming I'm going to join? There's no way I'm going to join. I'm traveling. I'm not staying in one place. Besides, I'm suited for the sword god style. I have no intention of learning the water god style. Paul, sensing that he was about to be told something outrageous, and that he was about to suffer a terrible fate, raised his voice in opposition. Again, right there, confirming the fact that this dojo was water god style. I really want to go back and check the first volume. I don't think they mentioned that it was water god style. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, at least looking up water god style, it doesn't show in it coming up in the history stuff for them. So I'm assuming not. Not that it matters. It's just, it was kind of a curious realization there that this was what her house was teaching, her father's dojo. How old are you anyways, boy? 12, but 12. You're still a kid. At that age, you don't even know what kind of swordsmanship is right for you, do you? You will grow taller and heavier from now on. As your physique changes, so does your aptitude for swordsmanship. That's the most important thing to remember, is that you can't just take a little bit of time to learn a few things and then decide if you are a good swordsman or not. I'm offering to teach you swordsmanship for free. Yes, get free swordsmanship training, get. I mean, there's obviously a catch here. He's hoping that Mary. Paul, you don't think that's a bad deal, do you? There's a flip side to every good story. It was a vague sense of danger that Paul had acquired during his life as a nobleman. He's a talkative guy, he thought, but he's not likely to spill his guts. I kind of wonder what that's exactly meaning there. That could be a lost in translation, but I'm assuming that sort of saying is that because of his time as a nobleman, he realized that you don't get anything for free. I mean, he learned that with the kids too. They had something they wanted. They weren't following him because he was his friend. They were hoping to get in good with the nobility. It was a proposal from an untrustworthy partner, but he would not be able to refuse by force. After all, the other party was powerful enough to kidnap Paul. Still, I can't stay here forever. I'm sorry, but I have to decline your offer. I have somewhere to go. Somewhere to go? Where? To a doctor. The young girl I was traveling with got sick, and she's seeing a doctor. Deciding that he could neither force his way through nor backstab Augusta, Paul told him honestly why he was here. Then Augusta's face grew tense. Okay, I thought he was like, oh, that you mean that girl that she dead? Well, you should have told me that earlier. Where is it? What doctor did you go see? What? The closest place to the dojo you were at is just around the corner from Lilia. Go guide him there. Guide him there? Father kidnapped him, didn't you? Father is responsible for him. She's like, it's your problem, Dad. Dad, you do it. No, Dad, I don't want to deal with your kidnapped toy. Am I like a dog or a cat? You don't have to take me to. Just show me the way there. I'll find the rest on my own. That's a funny joke. You're just going to say that and run away, aren't you? Well, you expect that your daughter's going to keep him from running away? Like, I guess Paul did get, like, a jump on her, but I don't think that she can beat him. There's no way she can beat him. He was right. Paul frowned. You're reading into it that I'm going to run away. And you want your daughter to show me the way? There it is. Is that strange? If you think it's no big deal because you're able to push her down, you're not looking hard enough. If you put a sword in her hand, Lilia is a first-rate swordsman. Bluff. I mean, a real sword, yeah, she probably could cut him down if he didn't have a sword himself, but that's a bluff. They mentioned that she was very skilled for her age, but she was seen as sort of the sister of the dojo. She wasn't strong. She worked really hard, but she wasn't incredibly talented. This girl? You have a problem with me? I have nothing to complain about. When he calmed down a little and looked a little closer at her, he found that she had a lot of curves in the right places. She had the kind of body that Paul likes. I mean, it's Lilia, dude. Yeah, I've seen the image of Lilia when she was younger from the mobile game. She's beautiful. She is beautiful. She's very pretty, Paul thought. When he stared, dude, your sick girlfriend's somewhere dying. This is the curse of Paul. It's always like, ball, ball, ball. Mom's dead. Ball, ball, ball. Marianne's dead. When he stared at her, she stared back at him with sharp eyes. Well, if Lilia doesn't want to go, I'll have to take you. Okay, let's go, Paul. Since he didn't know where he was, he had no choice but to follow Augusta. Paul silently followed behind him. It was okay introduction of Lilia. I kind of figured that sort of would be how it would kind of go. Chapter 13, Farewell. No. Don't kill off Marianne. Don't do this. They passed a familiar dojo, and then a small private hospital at the end of the four-cornered street. There, he found Rude and the others, pale faces. Rude, is it Paul? How's Marianne doing? They don't think your life is in danger right now, but they say she's pretty out of it. The chatty man, perhaps reading the mood, disappeared without entering the hospital. Paul stood next to Rude and listened. She never had a strong body to begin with. We didn't have parents, so when we were in the slums, I was just there to protect her. So I don't think that they're implying that they're actually blood related. We didn't have parents, so when we were in the slums, I was just there to protect her. I was relieved when she grew and became healthier and stronger. The sister who would get a fever and almost die was no more. You mean it wasn't the case after all? Yeah. This is our first time traveling. I guess she was pushing herself physically and mentally. And then came yesterday's rain. I'm sorry, because I left in the rain. Paul bit his lip, unable to control the anger he had for himself. Paul punched the wall of the hospital as hard as he could. Not only my mother, but even Mary Ann. Because of me. It ain't your fault. I mean, back then, again, with the whole situation with Paul, that was not his fault at all. Again, that was his mother doing. Paul had no idea. He's a kid. Now we're getting more into the realm of Paul being like in his teens. He's much older. In this world of Mushoku Tensei, he's technically an adult. He's reaching the point of adulthood in this world. More responsibilities for himself. And now he's a leader. And thus, he is responsible for everybody under him taking upon himself that leadership role. And yes, he technically does. He should have remembered and known this, but he was so focused on what he wanted to do. I want to go beat up all the dojos. Let's go, guys. Completely forgot about her. Dragged her along with this whole situation. Yes, he's much more at fault in this situation. This you can start to feel, yes, this is your fault, Paul. Paul was ready to be yelled at and punched. And yet, Rude did not speak up, but stared into the void with a pale face. I bet Rude's had this happen to him. I bet Rude is relating to Paul right now. I'm the one to blame. I put my own greed before my sister's health. Your greed? Before you came along, I was the boss. I had to protect my sister, protect my friends in the slums, and always be the strong one. Dude, I'm loving Rude. Dude, I am loving this guy. I'm loving this guy. Somebody was mentioning that he's reminding them of Soldat in the last Mushoku Monday. I'm like, yeah, I got the vibes there, the bro. But when you beat me in a fair fight, that was the first time I was able to relax. I felt much better after I gave up the position as boss. I was relieved to be able to leave my baggage in the hands of someone stronger than me. Now I can be free, I thought. What kind of lousy boss and lousy brother do you have to be to feel that way? I kind of relate to that one. Oh my gosh, it's kind of unrelated but related at the same time. That's a thought that I've had in the past. It's like when you're a caretaker for somebody, and you're always like your entire life when you're not busy doing things like your job, you're constantly having to think about like, okay, what does this person need next as a caretaker? And then when you finally have that moment where somebody else can kind of take it for a bit, you almost feel bad because you're like, finally, I don't have to worry about this thing anymore. And then something wrong goes, and then you feel bad for it because you should be able to take a breather and step away from something, but then it blows up in your face because you chose to allow that to happen. Anyways, no, it's not true. We all have times when we just want to be free and throw it all away. Actually, I did throw everything away, but you didn't throw away everything, did you, Rude? You're still protecting something. You think so? Yeah, Rude's feelings were painfully clear. Perhaps he was caught between responsibility and freedom. Paul had a similar experience, and that time, he took his freedom. Yep, Paul had a choice between staying with nobility, his responsibility as the next head, and walked away from it. And yes, there was still the aspect of what he was leaving behind. I mean, we don't know what happened to the head maid. I didn't think about that until I was editing the last Mushoku Monday, but it was the It was the manservant. He was the one that answered the door when Paul came home, and Paimon had ratted him out. And if you connect the dots, again, jumping back to when his father was leaving to go tour the lands, and the head maid pushed Paul to talk to his father about going with him instead, Paimon was busy. He was eating his sweets. And then eventually, Amaranth goes to leave, and Paul's telling the head maid, don't stay up for me anymore. You don't have to take care of me anymore. And then it cuts away, and in the visual novel, I'm assuming, is that Paimon pops up on the screen, and there's like a dot, 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 as if he's watching from a distance. That's what it's kind of implying there. So my assumption is that Paimon's seeing what the head maid said to Paul, and then when Paul came back, the manservant was waiting for him, which implies Paimon told his father and got the head maid probably fired then, and so she wasn't there. But this is that whole thing right here where, yes, technically Paul had a responsibility to her and anybody else that was backing him in the mansion, if anybody, which would probably at this point only the head maid and the manservant seemed like he cared somewhat. He cared about the name. He didn't care about Paul. Don't get me wrong there. Don't go that far. He had a responsibility there, and he chose to leave it. He chose to run away from it all. He chose to, instead of face his father and deal with all that stuff, he chose to run, which I don't blame him. Again, I don't blame him at all. Rude is probably, Paul thought. Paul exhaled with a huff. He was faced with a decision he will regret either way. I only got this far because of Rude, he thought. What can I do for someone like him? Take Marianne and go home. Our journey together ends here. Paul, I don't need you anymore. Oh, you can take all the money as a parting gift. Go to the slums, some farm village, wherever you want. Hey, man, what the hell's that talk? The boys, who had been short distance away, must have heard what Paul and Rude were talking about, because they started to come in droves. Rusan was there for you, and you're cutting him off that easy? You guys, stop. This feels dirty, but I understand. Rusan, why are you always defending this guy? This guy's trying to make Rusan. That ain't so. Why don't you understand? Paul's trying to... Shut up for a moment, will you? Don't you guys know where you are? Don't make a scene in the hospital. Oh, that's right. Rude. Take those guys with you. It's hard to move on with weak ones with you. Paul snickered with a snide smile. It was a deliberate sneer, but it was effective for the boys, whose blood were rushing to their heads. We didn't come here because you were asking us to. We're not following you. We're following Rude-san. Oh, I knew that. I knew you guys didn't recognize me as a boss. Only Rude did. Didn't he? That's all of them. I mean, there's probably a few there that's different, but that's probably all of them. You had, again, like half of them before were just trying to get in good with a noble boy, and they ditched the moment they realized he wasn't going back home. The other half was there for Rude. And technically, again, when Paul was first taking over as leader, what did it say? That Rude knew the area. He knew the land. Paul was still having him handle everything. Still having him navigate. Paul was just strength. That's all he was. And that was the whole point that Rude gave him that power. We need somebody that's strong. You take over. He just wanted a strong person there. And this goes back to that, by the way. I didn't realize that, but yes, that technically goes back there. What Rude said there, I was relieved when I could give it to you. Think all the way back to when Paul first met him, and they made that agreement there. He turned to Mary Ann and said, you just want somebody strong, right? You just want somebody to protect you, right? And she said, yeah, I would. It's comforting to have somebody that's strong that's protecting you. Right there, that's what Rude was thinking about. I can have him protect her, and I can breathe a sigh of relief. That's why he liked Paul so much. They crossed swords after that point and became super good friends. They crossed swords, and they had so much fun together. Of that entire group, again, there might be some oddities there. It was Rude and Marianne that cared about Paul. Everybody else, he was an outsider. Even the way they dressed him stayed the same. Paul wasn't sure if it was intentional or not, but they addressed Rude with honorifics, and Paul without. Yeah, Rude's on. Well, it doesn't really matter now. Paul shrugged and turned his back on Rude and the others. You're going? Without seeing Marianne? There's no reason to see her. Tell her to forget about me, quickly, and go live somewhere more peaceful. Such a dirtbag. Such a dirtbag. I mean, it's such a conflicting feeling. I'm going to be honest. It's so conflicting because it's like, yes, he's thinking about her well-being. She's going to be in danger if she keeps following him around. And he's chosen that he wants to keep traveling and keep running around. And the more that she sticks around him, the more, because she's frail, she will end up dying because he's not sitting still. And there's part of that is because he has to get out of there because of his family. But there's the other aspect of it's like, but you're just choosing not to sit still. You could be with her, but he never cared that much. I don't think he cares enough about Marianne. I don't think he does. He doesn't love her. I don't think he loves her at all. That sucks because she probably loves him. Paul the dirtbag. Paul the dirtbag. I give him credits for at least looking at first her safety because she can't do this. But it's still dirtbaggery. Rude. The sooner you forget about me, the better. We were born and raised different from each other. We were never meant to have anything to do with each other. Thank you, Paul. You're creating that divide. You're creating that divide, dude. Don't talk like that. We're friends. God, this guy. I love this guy. Well, technically, we were buddies, but see you around. I don't know if I'll ever see you again, but take care. But again, also at this point, they are still presumably being pursued. They're still being pursued. And he's going to have to keep running, and she's going to fall again. I acknowledge that. But he could find somewhere to hide away. He couldn't see Rude's face at the end because his back was still turned. This is for the best, Paul thought. Choosing between Paul and Marianne, Rude was faced with a tough choice, and Paul was not sure if it was the right choice to take that choice itself away from Rude. And I can see that being a conflict that Rude's facing right now too. Yeah. He could technically just have the boys take Marianne back. They wouldn't last. And I kind of wonder at this point if they'd even be able to make it back alive. They could have enough money to just get a carriage. But Paul could think of no other way to reward Rude. As Paul left the hospital, Augusta appeared without a hint of presence. You look like you had a breakthrough. Does that mean you're feeling lighter? I don't know. Well, that's good. That's good. You can now become my apprentice without any worries. Huh? How can I be your apprentice? All right. You're going to start training today. Let's go back to the dojo. I'm kind of liking this guy. This guy feels like a no-nonsense guy. He grabbed Paul firmly by the arm. While he tried to shake it off, the man was too strong. He's not budging at all, he thought. Paul was dragged to the dojo, where Augusta was the master. As the dojo was a prestige one, there was a lot of students there, Lilia amongst them. Master, good morning. Ah, good morning. Looks like everyone's here. Master? Who's that kid? Let me introduce you. This is Paul. He's going to be a student of ours starting today. No. What are you talking about? I never said I was going to be your student. I have no interest in dojo swordsmanship. A candid and honest feeling. The moment he said this, the air in the dojo became tense. Are you talking down to us? Master, he's a child with a very cocky mouth. Are you sure, Master, that you want to admit someone like him who knows nothing about manners or courtesy? I'm against it. A dojo is a place for not only swordsmanship is taught, but also courtesy. That is true, isn't it? I apologize. You're going on and on, Paul thought, ignoring the people involved. Well, I don't care. Even if I become a student in name only, then all I have to do is not participate in the training. That's true in his mindset. It's like, well, it's just like school. I went to school and I didn't sound like I went to any classes. Paul did not show as much rejection as he did at first, but was a little more positive in his thinking. After all, Paul was currently without copper to his name. If they were willing to let him live there, he was willing to use that as a base to earn money. That will probably happen after those guys leave here, though, Paul thought. Marianne, I have no right to wish you happiness, but at least may you live a healthy life. Just discard responsibility. Discard that responsibility. He had to break up with her without seeing her face. She was the one that he had to say goodbye to. Paul, who could not say goodbye to his mother, could not help but pray for her. In the meantime, and you had an opportunity to actually say goodbye to this one. And you had a chance to actually keep her and help her. And you choose to discard her. If you're making these connections to your mother, you're not helping your situation, your trauma by ditching it. The first sign of complications, ditching it. In the meantime, cutting to Marianne, she was sitting up in bed, listening to the story, silently casting her eyes down. A single tear trickled between her closed eyelids. So, you wouldn't even say... Gosh, dude. So you wouldn't even let me say goodbye or thank you. Marianne, I think Paul is doing this for us. I know. Paul didn't want you to choose whether to cut off your sister or your friend. So, he chose instead. Isn't that right? Yeah. You are a sweetheart. You know, I thought Paul had changed lately. Even when he was an aristocrat, Paul never looked down on people in the slums. But lately, he seems to be looking down on everyone. Holy sh**. She called it. Holy shit, she called it. Oh, she called it. Oh, damn, she called it. And yes, that's technically, if you think back on all this stuff, like, not like, we're putting aside just that one moment where it really felt like a lot of his trauma was digging up and the idea that he was being jealous of everybody. But again, there was a lot of lashing out there. And again, I was sort of, she's thinking the same thing I'm thinking. I started to kind of morph my thought process in that dojo at that time to the idea of looking at them as being weak like Paimon was, because Mom had to constantly tend to Paimon. He was weak. But additionally, yes, because he's getting so strong, he's looking down on everybody. He's looking down on everybody he's going up against because he's so strong. Again, this Augusta guy is the first person to really come before him and shove his face in the ground and say, "You're not strong." He beat the crap out of him. Just like what happened with Edis and Orsted, then following that, Galfalion. Somebody to smash her face in the ground and say, "Wake up, you're not that strong. Let me show you true strength." And it pushed her to get stronger. But he was looking down upon everybody that he came across. And it all started with that first person that he fought when they first left the slums. And then he started criticizing everybody in that dojo, all the slum kids. "You're all weak." Rude was still standing, but you're all so freaking weak. Marianne's seen it. Marianne's seen this trauma that's digging up, where Paul looks down upon people because they were too weak to do something. And I think a part of that is because of Paul's lack of being able to help his mother. He feels weak and is trying to get strong. He just doesn't think about it. I can't be weak. I got to get stronger, get stronger, get stronger, get stronger, get stronger. That guy probably wasn't used to being around other people all the time. That too. Rude's calling it well there too. He never was social. He was constantly the outcast. He didn't fit into that society, and thus he was an outcast. The only people he talked to was his sword trainers. And then suddenly, he's put in a position of being the boss, and he's being told to take care of people who are less powerful than he is, and he's just a little tense. Yeah, right. You know, brother, I wonder if I was able to support him at least a little. Goddamn, Mary. Oh, damn, dude. Of course you did. There's no other woman like you anywhere. I guarantee it. Brother, you can't guarantee that, can you? The small hospital room was filled with his siblings' tearful laughter. After that, the two returned to the slums of the Millbots territory. But a few years later, they moved to a peaceful farming village. The village chief took a liking to Rude, and he married the chief's daughter. They had 3 sons and a daughter. Marianne was proposed to by many men, but she never accepted any of them and remained a single woman for the rest of her life. Damn it! Oh, I freaking hate that. Oh, damn it, girl. Again, I hate that crap. He was so much to her, like impression upon her. And then he ditches her and she's never able to love again. That sucks, dude. Oh, that sucks. I mean, it can come down to the idea that everybody that came to her is just people that were not good people. Nobody that she could fall in love with, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's Paul's fault, but I still think he's a dirtbag for ditching her like this. It just sucks. Ugh. It is very specific on Rude, though. That's kind of interesting. The idea that it goes to the Millbots territory again, then they go to a small village where he marries the chief's daughter specifically and has 3 sons and a daughter. I don't know if that's a reference to anything that we know about already, but it feels very specific. Either way, at least Marianne feels like she at least they were happy and they went somewhere and she lived. I guess that's the positive about this whole thing. Hopefully she had a happy life and she didn't live like constantly thinking about Paul all the time. It feels bad though. It feels super bad. But again, very interesting to see that Marianne and Rude called it. All of his trauma, his looking down upon people, they called it all. Let's go into Rebellion. Let's go a little bit into episode 3 of Rebellion. Chapter 14, Delinquent Student. Putting aside his own intentions, Paul, who had been accepted into the prestigious Water God-style dojo, was staying at the home of his teacher, Augusta. Paul was a live-in student, but early in the morning, he was not in the dojo, nor in the room he was given, but in the home of a young widow who was reputed to be one of the most beautiful women in town. He's just going around banging. And this is that point where it's like, if you're going to stay here, why not just have Marianne stay there with him? if he chooses in the end to stay there, I guess the idea there is that the intention when he broke up with them was to leave, and he ended up getting stuck into doing this. But he accepts it so easily. Why not have Mary Ann stay there in the village with him? He's still living with another woman. Ugh, I hate it. Paul woke up when he heard hard banging on the door. Who could it be this early in the morning? I'm going out for a minute. So, Paul, let me go, will you? Don't answer it. Let's just take another nap together, ignoring the insane people who make noises in the early morning. Besides, it's too much trouble to get dressed, isn't it? I'm going to take off your clothes anyways. Oh gosh, Paul, that tickles. Let's not have another nap after all. Let's have some fun. Paul held the widow in bed and caressed her waist as he enjoyed the softness of her skin. Just as they were about to get down to business, the door flew open. Oh, I'm sorry about that, sweetheart. I'll have my apprentice fix the door. So, cut me some slack. I freaking love this guy, dude. I love this guy already. Augustus came stomping in through the blown door, sword in hand. What's going on, dear? I'm sorry for the delay in saying hello. I am the master of this naked boy over there. I fucking love this guy. I love this guy. This is my new bodyguardi. This is my new bodyguardi, guys. Mark it. This is my new bodyguardi. I hope he doesn't go crazy eventually. No. Don't f with me. I don't recognize him as my master, okay? Whether you admit it or not, you are my student. Come on, let's go to morning practice. What? It fits too, because again, back when I fell in love with this guy, this is the guy that was busting through walls, coming in like a bang. I come in with a bang. It's totally bodyguardi. Whether you admit it or not, you are my student. Come on, let's go to morning practice. What? How could I possibly go? As soon as he answered in disgust, Augusta instantly closed the distance between him and Paul. Paul found himself with a sword in front of him. Let's go, shall we? What if I said no? I'll take you with me, even if I have to knock you out. If that happens, the next time you wake up, you'll be rolling around naked in the dojo. What? Would you like me to show off your pride and joy in front of their fellow students? Paul gritted his teeth. This guy knows what he's doing. I'm gonna make you, boy. I'm invested in this. You're gonna do what I tell you to do. Paul gritted his teeth. This guy will do what he says he will. Paul had no choice. My pants, where are they? That's it. Accompanied by a satisfied Augusta, Paul was made to join the dojo's morning practice. What am I doing here early in the morning? Shoulder to shoulder with sweaty men. Anyways, Paul's eyes caught sight of Lilia wielding a sword amongst the male students. Yesterday's girl had a great style, but Lilia can't be beat for having something rocking and bouncing. So he went after her this early. They sort of imply the idea that, like, everybody wanted Lilia. Everybody was shooting for that spot. They wanted that throne. They wanted to take over the dojo and have Lilia as the prize. They loved her. A lot of them seen her as the dojo sister. They loved her to death. And when Paul was set up to take over, the assumption there now, especially after reading all this, is that he was never planning on staying there. But it never implied he went after Lilia, ? I don't think it ever did. In the end, he deflowered her and forced himself upon her, but never that he was, like, superly in love with her. Time flies when you don't have to be serious about hitting the ground running. After morning practice, Paul went to Augusta and Lilia's home, which was the same property as the dojo. Flute, I just got home. Smells good. What's for breakfast today? Welcome home, darling. Lilia, I see you're also here. Well, unfortunately. She greeted her husband and daughter, and the moment Paul came into view, she looked uncomfortable, not hiding it at all. This girl knows. She's like, I don't want this womanizer in here with my daughter. Augusta's just smiling, and the mother's actually like, I don't want this guy next to my daughter. What a waste of a beautiful woman. Damn! Paul, you go and change your clothes. I won't allow you to sit at the same table looking so dirty. I don't mind if we don't eat together as long as I get my meal. What? Don't talk back and do what I say. I guess this is the one that's going to teach him how to be... I guess this is the one that's going to teach him courtesy. The mother... Augusta's going to teach him, like, order and strength, and Flute's going to teach him courtesy. Now, Flute. Leave it at that. Paul, you two, go get changed quickly. Mom, I'll help you set the table. Augusta and Lilia intervened, so Paul and Flute did not exchange any more words. Ugh, they're still staring at me. Paul slunk away from the scene. How can you take a boy like that in as a live-in apprentice? Have you taken leave of your senses? Haha, I guess so. Paul's a gem in the rough. If you polish him, he will surely shine. That's why I want to be the one to polish him up if possible. A gem in the rough? Is he really that good? You may have an eye for swordsmanship, but you don't have an eye for people, do you? he looks like a child from the slums, and he has no manners at all. And yet, he has no shame either. He has no positive attitude, nor desire to learn or change. Isn't he the same with a sword? He's like that now, but he'll change. That's where my skills come in. Paul pretended not to notice the conversation coming from behind him and changed his clothes as Flute told him to. Flute doesn't like me, Paul thought, and I don't like Flute either. But the meal is delicious, no question about it. After finishing the mountain of food, Paul left Augusta's house at once. That had been his daily routine ever since he started living at the house. I mean, I guess that's something that Flute's all for. She's like, hell yeah, get this boy out of here. If he wants to leave at night, let him leave at night. I'm going to leave it there. I'm gonna stop there. Next chapter, we'll get into the dojo and his time staying there. Going to be some interesting stuff coming up, but very juicy Mushoku Monday. Another one that I really love. And again, it's funny because when I came into this Mushoku Monday, I'm like, this is going to be a great Mushoku Monday because we get to see Lilia. We're going to get to Lilia stuff. Apparently, that's going to be next Mushoku Monday. This Mushoku Monday was trauma. Literally, the title of this Mushoku Monday is going to be Paul's Trauma. This was so much Paul's trauma and how he has, he's reliving the trauma from his mother and he's projecting that on people. His experience with his mother is something that was affecting him with Marianne, and he started to kind of dredge those feelings back up. So that has me, the fact that the writer did that gives me a lot of hope for how they're going to write stuff going forward. Because one of the things I've always loved about Mushoku Tensei as a series is always the idea of getting into the mental scars people have, how that affects them as they go forward. Rudius is a prime example of that. As he went forward with his life, this stuff kept dredging up. It kept coming up, and it was kept affecting him. He never got away from any of it. These scars remained with him, like humans do. It was really good writing, because it made it feel real, because, like real people, those scars, in a lot of cases, never leave you. And so if this writer, again, because this is wrote by somebody else with supervision of Refugin, if they were able to execute on that, and didn't just turn this into a very basic story of Paul just going on his adventure. Now I'm going off to here. Oh, now I go to dojo. Now I'm going to train in swordsmanship. Yeah, I'm learning swordsmanship. There's Lilia, got mad, gonna bang her, run off. They could have made it that simple, but they didn't. Instead, they chose to bring up trauma. It's some good stuff. Not to the in-depth nature that I think Refugin was able to pull off, because this isn't 26 volumes. This is going to be what feels like a single volume worth of text here, but still enough to show me that they're willing to kind of dive into Paul's character and how things will affect him into the future. And hopefully, again, one of the things I've been looking forward to the most, hopefully they'll handle Lilia's story very well. I don't know that we'll necessarily get a lot of what Lilia's thinking. They could have perspective of Lilia because they did marry Anne and Rude, but more so to see what was going through Paul's head and how much she gets sick of these people. And if it could possibly show me, this is the key thing here, if this writer, with hopefully a lot of the guidance of Refugin and supervision of Refugin, if this writer convinced me why Paul does it, because they already showed me, I fully understand why he leaves nobility. I fully understand why he leaves his father and that family. Can it show me? Not that it will convince me. Ain't no doubt in my mind it will not convince me. Will it show me why Paul decides to do something so horrible to Lilia? Challenge. And I'm thinking we might find out next week. I think we'll find out next week. But anyways, thank you guys so much. Drop by for the premiere. Hope you guys enjoyed this Mushoku Monday as always. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday after this Mushoku Monday ends. As per usual, greatly appreciate your guys' support, your kind words, all that stuff. It means a great deal to me. And yes, as per usual, greatly appreciate everybody's support monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you. But until the next Mushoku Monday, y'all take care. Paul was about to go away and freshen things. Paul and his feller. Why is Rude struggling? Have the both of you forgotten that your own brothers Have the two of you forgotten that your own brothers exist? Have the two of you both forgotten that you're both the proprietress was indignant. The proprietress was indignant.
Ha 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 ha. These ha 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 ha. This kid ha 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 ha. This kid is a kid.
You shouldn't be making a fuss. You shouldn't be making any fuss. You shouldn't be making a fuss over the. You shouldn't be making a cut.